Hello students, welcome to ELGA 16 revision class at Sri Vidyaniketan Public School, Sri Ramnagar. Students, before I start a class, you ensure with you student reader, workbook, a notebook, pen or pencil while attending classes. In today's session, we are going to revise reading and listening comprehension components. In this component, we are going to revise plot structure. What is this plot? A plot is a main event of the story. Plot is a main event of the story raised in a order. Here, and a plot structure. What is this plot structure? Plot structure is what happens in the story. What happens in the story? The action of every story can be shown using a plot diagram. There are 5 key points to the plot of every story. Let us see an example of the plot of the story. In the case of missing water, here we are using the missing water topic and we are going to see an example. A plot is nothing but the main event of the story. The action of every story can be mapped or out using a plot diagram. Let us recap the 5 parts of a plot diagram. Yes, students, these are the 5 parts of a plot diagram. How it starts? It starts with the beginning. In the beginning of the plot structure, we are going to discuss about who are the characters in the story and what is the settings or introduction of the story. Slowly tracing action like a problem. How the problem, where the character faces a problem in the story. And next moving to the resolving problem. Here it hits the maximum suspense in the story. Here we are thinking two questions. What are those two questions? What is the character do? Think solving the problem. What turning point to their action lead to? The turning point of the story is nothing but climax. The turning point of the story is nothing but climax. It means that the climax, anything happened in the story, how we can see in the movies, there always comes a point, is it? Where from there in the story, we can go anyway. In the climax, in the stories, how it can comes, where also it can go. And means where from the story begins and how it turns in the climax, we don't know. It is a maximum suspense. It is a maximum suspense and excitement about the climax. This is about resolving problem. How the character solves the problem. Next, solving is nothing but solution. Falling action. In the climax, it goes slowly falling action. That is nothing but solution. Events that lead to the problem's end. Events that lead the problem's end. At the end, how the story ends. These are the 5 parts of a plot structure. How the story begins, problem, how it raised and resolving, and also solution and at the end of the story. We'll see the example. We read the story, the case of missing water. Let us draw the plot diagram for it. Each story. Here, students, you can refer your LSR by reading the case of the missing water. By reading this story, you can get the beginning of the story. Who are the character in the stories? Ranjan and Swapna. What is the setting of the story here? Hillside village or with no water. Next, what is the problem in the story? Water disappears from tank, pipes. People left villages as there was no water. And what is the climax resolving problem? Ranjan and Swapna drew a map of tank beds in the village. They inspected every tank, found a tank full of water. They saw a man stealing water. Next, what is the solution of this? Slowly, how it comes falling the problem into the solution. They saw a man stealing water from the tank. Ranjan and Swapna hugged the pump to stop the man. Next, what is the end of the story? It rained and the village finally got its water. Ranjan and Swapna solved the mystery. This is the 5 steps how we can resolving the problem with the great climax. Students, now this is the time to you. You have to read the events from the story from SR 7 and map the worksheet 5. Question number 2. Students, you have to read all these questions and note, that is your turn to read a mysterious story and draw the plot diagram for it in your notebook. You have a space if you want to take a printout, and you can draw here also. Next topic is making connections and predictions. How the making connections and predictions to learn. Connections means to think. Connections means to think. Does anything is this remind me of anything is my own life. Here we are going to connect with our own life, and also about what does this remind me of in the world. To make predictions means to guess what is going to happen in the story. We make predictions based on what we read or see and what we already know. Here we will see an example of this story, the case of the missing water. These are the making connections, how we are going to read the questions and how we are applying to our own life and giving the answers. Story name is what happened in the story. Water disappeared from the village and there was no water from drinking. Here already we discussed about this topic in the plot structure. The same problem we are going to think in this topic. This is about what happened in the story. Make connection with self. We are going to apply this to the own life, to our own life. Does this remind me of anything in my own life? Once when I was in second standard, we did not get water in our home for 2 days. My mother had to walk to the public tank to fill water from the pipe there. Here when I was in the second standard, we are not getting water from my home. So my mother was walking to the public tank and bringing to the water to our home. This is about my own life connection and making connection with the world. What does this remind me of in the world? I read in the newspapers, I read in the newspapers that 13,000 villages in Rajasthan are running out of water and citizens line up in front of government water tankers to survive. Here in the Rajasthan, we are around 13,000 villages in Rajasthan are still running without water, and also citizens. Next, we are going to get a prediction. Prediction is nothing but guess what is going to happen in the story. What happened when next? Rajan will go in search of the water. Where it is going? Rajan was searching the water. Where it is moving? Next, what is this clue? Why do I think so? Rajin is worried that her friends are leaving the village as there is no water and she wants them come back. Here we are going to check, was my prediction right? Here the children they are moving, their friends were moving from that place, so she is thinking what has to be done. Yes, Rajan, along with her friend Swapna, went in search of water. Here, they both went to search the water. This is about making predictions to our life. Students, now this is the time to you. Read the story, The Village of Twins, and answer the following questions. These are the questions you are supposed to read and give the connections of these answers. And make inference based on character action. This is the last topic of this component. The actions that a character does can say, the actions that a character does can say a lot about the personality, a lot about the personality of a character. Here, inference based on the character action. Here, we are going to take the personality about a character. We are saying a lot of things about a person. are a character. We can use the graphic organizer below to record our thoughts. We can use the graphic organizer below to record our thoughts. Let us see an example from the story, The Most Dangerous Game Part 2. The Most Dangerous Game Part 2. Let us learn how to make inference based on character actions. Let us how to make inference based on the character actions. We will follow these steps. First step is looking at the character situations. What happened in the story? We are going to look about the character situation. Next, identifying the character's action. What did the character do? And next one is inferring from the character's action. What can I tell about the character from his or her action? These are the inference based on the character actions. These are the steps we are going to inference based on the characters. What did the character do? Ivan pushed Sam Rainsford out of the cage night that night. For a half hour, Rainsford ran like a frightened animal. His only thought was getting as far away as possible from General Joe. But the island was small. He could not go far in any direction before coming to the sea. I must think clearly, he said to himself. I will give him a false trail to follow. He made a series of circles and doubled back on his trail again and again. Toward dawn, he climbed up a tree and stretched out on a climb. No one could follow the trail, he thought. What did the character do here? We will see. Ivan pushed Sam Rainsford out of the gate that night. At that night time, he put out of the gate. Here, calm. Was scared about thought clearly? Yes, brave innocence worked to save his life even when he was falling fearful. I must think clearly. I must think clearly, he said to himself. I will give him a false trial to follow. He said clearly what? He will give a false trial to him. He made a series of circles and doubled back on his trial again and again. Here, the smart thing is planned to confuse the general. Here, they had planned to confuse the general. What happened in this story? Ivan pushed Sam Rainsford out of the gate at 9 that night time. At 9 o'clock, at that night time, he put out of the gate him. Next, what did the character do? I must think clearly. Rainsford said to himself, I will give him a false trial to follow. He made a series of circles and doubled back of his trial again. Here, what happened? He gave us false trial to follow him. The character gave the false trial to follow him. But he made a series of circles and doubled back of his trial again. And what can I tell about the character from his or her action? Even when he was scared, Rainsford told himself to think of a plan. He was very calm. At the time, he was very calm. He is very brave and wanted to find a way to save him his life. He became a brave and wanted to find a way to save his life by himself. He is a smart and he was able to come up with a plan to complete his work. This is about how the things has happened in the character. The character was very influenced based on the character actions. This is about character actions based on the inference. Here, you have to read the events and analyze the character of Sam Rainsford. Now, it is your turn to make inference based on character actions for different events in the story. Students, this is about today's class. Now you are going to revise the same topic concept of the next paragraphs and complete this concept. Thank you, students. This is about today's session.